Hello folks, Dick Fairburn here. Gonna go a different direction with this video. I've started a new aspect of my life. One of the things I saved for all the years that I was working would be to purchase a fifth wheel RV and a towing unit and travel around the country some. So we got a new to us rig. We've got it pretty much equipped, ready for a test run. And our goal is to spend a month or two down south where it's warmer this winter. I have a lot of friends who go down there and stay someplace for the whole winter. That's not my idea of fun. So instead of staying in one place, I think we're going to visit a lot of those friends everywhere from Arizona to Florida. Go see them for a week or so. And it brought up an idea. I've seen videos where somebody said, gee, if I could only have one gun, or if I could only have 2 or 3 guns, this is what my arsenal would be. Thinking of all the things that I want to possibly do on this trip, how can I do that with the smallest number of guns possible brought along? Because in an RV you have limited space and limited weight. So I'll give you what I think I need to supply my winter, and you can comment and tell me what you think needs to be different. Stick around. We will probably end up in Arizona at the start of our trip, and I will know in a week or two, but I might take a little bit of an extra side trip up to Las Vegas towards the end of January and attend the SHOT Show. I've been to a number of SHOT Shows over the years. It's always fun to go back and see some of the cool stuff that's coming out. But when I thought about what I might want to accomplish, first of all, I'm thinking about self-defense, always. So my wife and I will each have some sort of small, everyday carry sidearm. What happens if we're involved in some kind of situation or one of those sidearms for some reason breaks or goes down? So on my list of things to bring is a small pistol. This is a little Car CM9 that I've had for a number of years. It was my primary carry for a while. And we both used it extensively, so if her Glock goes down or my Kimber Micro 9 goes down, or God forbid we have to use them on someone and now we've got a weapon locked up in evidence for hopefully not forever, we'll have a backup so we can continue to carry. If they take your gun as evidence in a shooting, that doesn't mean you need to be disarmed. It just means they need that weapon as evidence. You can still pick up a secondary weapon and go about your business. This is a winter trip I'm planning for, but in the summertime I intend to go north where it might be a little bit cooler and spend more time in the mountains. That's where I am most at home. I lived 10 years of my life out in Wyoming, and if I had my way I'd probably live the rest of it out there, but sometimes we don't have control over our lives to that degree. But I'm going to go spend some time out there. So in terms of sidearms that I'm going to bring along, not only a backup small carry pistol in 9mm, 380 maybe at the minimum, I'm going to add some kind of full frame pistol. If I'm in Wyoming at a time of the year when the grizzly bears are not hibernating, I'm probably going to be carrying something on a chest rig when we're out hiking, walking the dog, doing some wildlife and nature photography, things like that. I can carry either a 10mm that I've shown you on videos, I think is probably the best all-around bear defense, or I could go with an equally well-equipped 5-inch all-steel 45 with honey badger all copper loads or hard cast bullets. They're going to penetrate real well too. Either one would work. The advantage also to having a full-size pistol along, and I mentioned this in one of my pieces on everyday carry, I normally carry a fairly small pistol, inconspicuous, in a pocket. That's for when I really don't expect any kind of trouble, because I live in Mayberry most of the time. It's a bit of a blustery day here in Illinois. We've got a jet going over now, so hopefully that doesn't interfere with the audio too much. It's that magic time of the year. This is when the bucks are really starting to pre-rut. A couple of good bucks my friends have down here in Illinois. My friends in Wyoming have been laying elk low for most of a month or more out there, both with archery and gun. And in a month or so I'll be headed to Wyoming for a cow elk hunt. So this is magic time of the year for me. This is my favorite. But talking about full-size handguns. That full-size handgun on a chest rig is good where open carry is almost a mandatory way to do business out in the boondocks. I am not opposed to open carry from a legal standpoint. I am reluctant to see people have open carry in urban areas. And I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's a choice that you have to make. But I think what you're doing is you're kind of upsetting the population. And we who believe in the gun really don't need to upset the sheep out there any more than we have to. And the other problem is if you have that weapon out and open and someone may decide to take it away from you, or if some kind of nefarious person is around and they see that, who do you think they're going to engage first? So from my point of view, the way I was raised up, the way 40-some years in law enforcement taught me is, unless you're in uniform and you're going to be doing open carry notoriously, then I prefer concealed carry. It's a surprise to them and it's a tactical advantage to us. Okay? But with a large frame pistol, I can carry it on the chest, inside pants, outside pants. In the winter time, I'm probably going to have some kind of garment that will easily conceal that. I can have a couple of magazines of spare ammo with me. If I'm going to a bad neighborhood or I'm going to someplace where I think there could be a problem develop, I'm probably going to go for a larger handgun. Smaller handgun is where I feel safe, but I want one just in case. I started thinking about hunting too. Arizona, Texas, Mississippi, Florida. These are known places where we're going to stop and see people. So this could involve a lot of different opportunities that pop up. I'm not going down there specifically to hunt, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity if it jumps up. I'm not really going after small game because I thought, well, do I really need a .22 rifle along with me? And I'll get to them, the rifles that are laying here. I'll show you. I can take a .22 simply by taking a conversion unit for my M4, and I did a video on that. So if I need it, I have it. But since it doesn't take up much space, I'm probably going to have a little .22 pistol with me. These are going to be unloaded, cased, so I'm legal in whatever state I go through. This is a little Walther P22. It's kind of dirty because it's seen a lot of outdoor carry. I do carry this openly a lot of times when I'm working on the farm. I'm putting up trail cameras, putting in food plots, things like that. A little .22 on my hip is just kind of handy to have. And that probably covers what I need in handguns. Everyday carry, a larger carry for going into the big cities once in a while. Chest carry if I'm in locations that could have dangerous animals that I'm concerned about. .22 just because, and a small backup in case we need another everyday carry gun. So let's talk about hunting opportunities. I'm not going big game hunting, but sometimes stuff crops up in your way that you can't turn down. Especially in the South, they are being overrun by wild hogs, and I would just dearly love to get some wild hog shooting. So thinking along that line, and a lot of guys have various deer guns, deer-sized weapons, a lot of calibers, a lot of different action types. And I've mentioned in a couple of videos, I don't have a gun collection. I have more guns than I need, I'll admit to that. But primarily I have guns that are tools. They're to fill a specific role. For my, we'll say, wild boar up through deer, antelope, wild sheep type creatures, I have a .280 Remington. This is a Remington 700 that's been completely rebuilt from top to bottom, blueprinted, cryo-treated. It's phenomenally accurate. When I put this together, I worked up a load with a 160 grain Nosler AccuBond, bonded bullet, deep penetrator. I thought that would be great for deer and antelope and no problem at all killing an elk with it. Well, I've never killed an elk with it. I've killed a number of deer and antelope with it, and what I've decided is that bullet wasn't really the best choice. It kills them, but it doesn't take them down like a lightning bolt. And when I first moved to Wyoming, I had a very similar rifle in .270 Winchester, and I shot 130 grain Nosler ballistic tip. The AccuBonds weren't out at the time. Those ballistic tips would put down antelope and deer like they were struck by a lightning bolt. Just put them down. And that was even before I started using the high shoulder shot. Just a killing machine. A guy decided he wanted my rifle really, really bad, and he threw a lot of offers at me. I sold it and set up the .280 that I always wanted. So I'm going to put two loads together for this. I'm waiting for Nosler to get the 120 grain ballistic tips back in stock, which they're supposed to have before I go on my Wyoming hunting trip. They should definitely be available before we go on our winter trip. So with a 160 grain AccuBond and a 120 grain ballistic tip, softer bullet at a lot higher velocity, I should be able to get that lightning bolt kill effect I'm looking for deer, antelope, if I get into a wolf while I'm out in Wyoming after we elk hunt, things like that. With the ballistic CDS dial, where I can dial the range, all I need is two dials, one for the 160 grain, another for the 120 grain, and when they're zeroed, there's going to be some kind of conversion. It's perhaps going to be like 1 minute up and a half minute right. We'll change it from the 160 to the 120. So I make those corrections, slip on the new dial, and I'm ready to go. So this one rifle would let me kill anything I'm likely to encounter, from wolves, wild pigs, up to elk, which I'm probably not going to get a chance at unless I put in the tags and spend the money and things like that. So this is an all-around rifle. It is superbly accurate. And from a self-defense point of view, if I'm out boondocking by myself in the wild somewhere and suddenly I have a human threat at a distance, this easily matches the accuracy of a .308 sniper rifle I had a number of years ago when I did a lot of sniper training. So I've got the reach and the accuracy necessary to go out to 600, probably 800 yards if I have to. So this is an all-around kind of weapon. I did a video on a .357 lever action. I call that my house gun. It's a little Browning B92. .357 Magnum becomes a whole different kind of beast when it's fired from a 20-inch barrel instead of a revolver. I have the twin to that Browning 92 in .44 Magnum. A little bit more recoil. My wife is it's at the upper edge of what she wants to deal with. But my thought is the .357 is good for where I live, but if I'm out in wilder country, I might want the extra bullet weight and the extra thump that I can get from a .44 Magnum. And just like the .357, when you put that .44 Magnum in a 20-inch barrel, it becomes a whole nother beast. You can get loads approaching that of light-loaded factory 45-70 rifle ammo. So with custom hand loads, hard cast, flat nose bullets, this will stop anything I need to stop, and it has another advantage. When you're traveling with guns around the United States, the laws from state to state vary widely. Now my personal and political interests are going to keep me probably west of the Mississippi for the most part, except when I go to Mississippi, Florida, places in the southeast. I'm not likely to spend a lot of time with this camper up in the northeast, like Massachusetts or Connecticut or New York or crazy places like that. If you want a self-defense carbine for an RV while you're traveling, the M4 is not going to be legal everywhere you go. Now, I am convinced that with the Bruin and Heller decisions, once we work this all through the Supreme Court, I got a feeling those laws are going to fall. But it's going to take a long time. As of right now in Illinois, you cannot purchase an M4 or anything like it. You cannot purchase high-capacity magazines. I can have them because a glitch in the Illinois law exempts retired police officers, correction officers, folks like that, we are exempt from that law. We can have them, we can technically buy them, we can still have and use the 30-round magazines. Other citizens can still have what they had prior to the law passage in terms of magazines, weapons, and accessories, but the law requires them to register those with the state police now. The registration process is about a month old. It goes through the end of the year, but by January 1, if you have not registered your evil weapons that JB the Hutt Prisker doesn't like, then you become a felon. I'm exempt from that. I don't think that's fair. I think the law should apply equally to everyone, but I'm going to take advantage of it. You go to New York, you go to Connecticut, you go to California, places like that, they're not going to be happy with you having an M4. Now, if it's locked up in your RV and they never see it and they never know it's there, well, then you haven't got a problem. But if something happens and you do pull that out for self-defense use, are you going to go to jail? Are you going to lose that weapon? Are you going to be facing more criminal charges than you can afford to defend against? Nobody so far has even attempted to outlaw these things. And if you've got 6 rounds or more in a tube magazine for 44s, 357s, 45 Colts, 454 Casuls, I'm sure someone will throw a comment in there about some caliber I didn't think of. How about a semi-auto pistol caliber carbine, 9mm, 45, 40, 10 millimeters, especially good. It's kind of the magnum of the auto pistol world. They're great, but you're crossing that line into semi-autos, and you're probably crossing that line into high-capacity magazines. And depending on where you go, there could be a problem. There is a federal law that protects you in traveling with guns. However, it has limits. You have to be traveling from a state where your weapon, your M4 will say, is legal, to a state where it is legal. And if you go through a state where it is not legal during that travel, the federal law will protect you while traveling through. If you stop overnight in New York or Connecticut, you're going to have a problem. There are some attorneys who will tell you that if you stop for fuel, you have broken the travel mode of that law, and you could be in a bind. If you're going to go to those places, take something they can't argue with. That's my philosophy. Do I feel like the AR-15 M4 is the ultimate fighting rifle for, light caliber carbines? Yes, I do. 1911 is my idea of the ultimate fighting pistol, but I can do with other. If you're going to Canada, or if you're going through Canada to drive to Alaska, you are not going to get in with a semi-automatic long gun. You are also not going to get in with a handgun. And if they have any suspicion that you have those available, they will tear your drive-it camper, your tow unit, your fifth wheel camper, they will tear it apart looking for it. Canada has no sense of humor. And Canada has even less sense of humor for their own citizens now. They're trying to ban ordinary bolt-action hunting rifles. And we'll see if they get it done. I don't know. The next revolution may actually start in Canada before here in the United States. But a lever action can serve you well, and it doesn't bust any laws. Will I take my M4? Yes. Because I'm going to go to states where it's not going to be a problem. Do I need it for self-defense purposes? Probably not, but if global jihad actually happens and shit hits the fan, it might be a good idea to have one around. And a vest with a few 30-round magazines. But I can do other things with this. With this 1:6 scope, I can not only use it for self-defense with a self-defense grade load, I can shoot 52 match hollow points for varmints. Coyotes, bobcats, cool for that. I can swap this scope out for a thermal scope. I can use that at night, and the way the thermals work, they have a number of electronic reticles in there. I can have that scope sighted for several different loads, which would work anywhere from varmints to people to pigs to wolves, whatever. So that makes this a very versatile weapon, and as long as I'm not going someplace where they're going to get upset about it, I'm going to take it. And as I said, I think eventually we're going to see those onerous laws go away, but not for a while. If you're going to a state where it's okay to have it, but they have magazine restrictions, then I guess you get some 10s. Okay? Is that enough for most of what we're going to do? From a hunting point of view, yes. Self-defense, probably, but I'd have several. All right, so general purpose big game rifle. My house gun for my RV, probably my 44 lever action. AR-15, just because it's so versatile. Now, one thing I haven't done in any of my videos is, because I'm not a really big shotgun guy, used to use shotguns a lot when that was the backup weapon for law enforcement. But if you've looked at the end of any of my videos and the 2 Brittany's that I have, when I got back into the bird dog business, I decided that I want to get some shotguns that I've always wanted, drooled over for years, but never could really put together. And so what I went looking for, when I was a kid, my dad had 2 shotguns. That was it. That's the guns he owned. He had a 410 bolt action Stevens. That was for me to shoot squirrels with. He had a 16 gauge single shot Stevens. That was for him to shoot squirrels with, or rabbits. So there's just something about the 16 that always I thought was neat. And I thought, well, I'm going to get my gentleman's shotgun to use when I'm out there with my brace of Brittany's pointing quail. I looked all over, found what I was looking for. An Ithaca side-by-side pre-war shotgun. I'd seen several over the years at gun shows and gun stores and never coughed up the money to get a good one. But I found a really nice one. It's in pretty much all original condition. You can tell the buttstock has been replaced. What I didn't realize at the time was 16 gauge shotguns are really cool. You know, they kind of carry like a 20 and shoot like a 12. But they don't load much ammo for them, so 16 gauge ammo is generally about twice the price of either 12 gauge or 20 gauge. And in the process of finding that gun, I was looking on Gunbroker in various places, and I bumped into the ideal gun. I like double barrel shotguns. If you want to call me a FUD, then you call me a FUD. I don't really care. Side-by-sides have just always had a special spot in my heart. I have several of them. I also like them because they pack down nice and light. Okay, this will fit in the bottom of my closet in the RV. So this is not the 16. This is a 20 gauge. And the last version they made was called the New Ithaca Double. So this is a 20 gauge version of that. The 16 is pretty much all original in very nice condition. This has been completely restored by a guy named Blake in Connecticut, who is almost as respected as Turnbull when it comes to restoration. So the stock is nice. This is a field grade gun, so it's not going to be fancy wood. It's been probably rust blued. Color case hardening is freshened, and it has the 2 attributes I like on an upland bird gun. I like short barrels, so it's 26-inch barrels, and I like a beaver tail 4-end. The 16 gauge is the 28-inch barrel with a splinter, so it's not my ideal gun. And this thing is so light and so sweet. And one of the things that sold me on the 16 when I bought it is that originally it had been a modified in full, which is probably the most common choking you get in these kind of guns, even with short barrels back then. This particular one was made in 1936, but it looks as good as the day it was made. This was also a modified in full. The 16 gauge had been opened up, so the choking on it was cylinder and full. Front trigger, right barrel, no choke at all, perfect for walking up on pointed birds. But then if you kill one and you've got a second shot, or you miss the first one and you need a second shot to get it, you're going to a full choke. So you've got as much reach as you can get with that gun, that load. So this was a modified in full. I paid probably a little bit more than I should have for it, but it just is gorgeous. Light, beautiful, and it's an Ithaca. And I, my first shotgun was an Ithaca Model 37 Deerslayer. So when I got it, as I said, modified in full. As soon as I got it, I sent it to Briley, the choke people who do a lot of really good shotgun work. And I called them and I said, hey, I've got a 16 gauge that's cylinder and full. I got a 20 gauge that I want to have the same patterning type effect on it. And their recommendation was to open up the modified barrel, not all the way to cylinder, but to a skeet choke. And he said, I think that's going to give you almost identical patterns between 16 and 20 gauge. So this is a skeet and full combination. Light, easy to handle. Quail in Arizona, quail in Texas, quail in Mississippi, maybe even quail in Florida, depending on the chances I get down there. Now, if you want to take a shotgun, it could serve as a bird gun, as a house gun, and even as bear defense. A pump action shotgun, especially one with choke tubes that you could modify for bird hunting, can serve all of those roles. Buckshot for home defense or slugs, Brennecke slugs for bear defense, bird shot for those. So you could get this down to a couple of long guns if you really want to. This 280 and a pump action or semi-auto shotgun rigged out for the various uses, they could serve as both home defense, self-defense, whatever you need. So this is kind of a short video. I just wanted to throw out my idea of what I'm going to take with me on this first trip. And when I get back, I'll probably see that something didn't get used at all, or maybe that I needed something that I didn't have with me. But this RVing, I grew up as a kid. My folks had RVs, you know, other friends in our families, we traveled all over the country. But that was more than 50 years ago. A lot more technology. We're going to get our camper rigged out for as much solar as we can afford to put on it so that we can go in the boondocks and be antisocial. But it's going to be a new experience for us, and it's going to be fun. And I'm going to be able to do some of these videos from the road. And something I'd like to do, and comments, please fire comments in there. Look on my string of videos, and I have a video about Hole in the Wall when we were in Wyoming in May, the hideout of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And that video has actually got more views than I thought it would. So if you'd be interested in seeing videos on cool old Western topics, let me know. I'll see what I can find while I'm out there. If we get the chance, we're going to shoot various ranges while we're out there. Some of my friends are members of clubs that can introduce us to people. If I meet really cool people from the gun industry along the way, especially some people at the SHOT Show, I'll do some interviews along those lines as well. So if you're interested in Old West videos, interview of older gun people, and you know, the whole idea of being a FUD or being a gun shop commando, if you don't learn from the history of firearms development, you're not a complete, well-rounded person. I saw one of the bigger YouTube guys, gun guys, not too long ago at Thunder Ranch with Clint Smith, and you know, Clint and I have been kind of associates for a long time. This guy'd never even heard of a trapdoor Springfield. He'd never heard of any of the older antique type military weapons. And so Clint had him shooting all of those old guns. If you don't know how those things work, if you don't understand the development process that took us from flintlocks and black powder to the modern day, then you don't really know as much about guns as you think you do. So I think whenever we can learn from those old timers, it's phenomenal. Hopefully you're learning from this old timer. What can I say? Folks, in these uncertain times, what's going on in Israel is expanding. We've had our troops in Syria and Iraq attacked, probably by people associated with Iran. We don't know where that war is going to go, but we know we live in a very dangerous, very uncertain time. Be prepared, be safe out there, whether you're camping or at home or in your travels. Take care, folks. Thank you for watching. So you can look around a lot of different places in your camper. Where could I hide things in sort of in plain sight? We have a pantry here next to our refrigerator. Shelves, various sundry items. But in taking some measurements and being something of a builder, if I go from the bottom to here, if I take out these shelves, or vice versa, from there to the top, take those shelves out, I could build a vertical rack that would pull out about 2 feet, and I could stash 3 or 4 guns in there. Push them back in. Rig a method to latch that door, so you got a kind of a secret button you got to do to unlatch it, and I can hide several guns in there. Our camper has another thing going on. Up above the television, there's a space that baffles me. I have no idea what the space is for, but if I were to build a door very much like this one and stain it to match, that I could open or close, I could then put a foam insert in there and probably fit a standard bolt action hunting rifle by my measurements. And another good spot to hide guns, especially maybe guns that are just in a case rather than locked up in a container, is under the bed in most campers. Lifts up pretty easily. Has some good storage capacity. Some campers have full wardrobes. Mine does not. This is only a short wardrobe with drawers underneath. So handguns could certainly go in there. Double barrels, shotguns, and a takedown case would fit in there, but you're not going to get very many long guns. You might get a short carbine. Okay, we got them both here now. You ready? Bud got one. Ginger got one. Oh, she missed it. She usually gets them, doesn't she, Bud? Okay, girl, last one. You ready? You ready? Yeah! That's all there is till next time.